Yes, we can, or yes, I can, to make a world a better place. There's a measurement inconsistency regarding this concept of whether we can achieve the social goals, social purpose as a customer or as a citizen. We collectively take our efforts to make a world a better place. How we measure these perceptions of whether our efforts are making a difference is inconsistent and quite fragmented. Climate action requires collective actions from all citizens involved. We as an individual are asked to behave pro-environmentally in home energy, transport, food, fashion, waste, and water in many domains. The campaigns always say that we can make change, but do you really believe that? Do you really believe that your behavior in energy saving reduce carbon emissions? Here is the important questions about effectiveness of your behavior. Let's look into some news and statistics. Some people say that their behavior significantly reduces the effects of global climate change. More people don't think that their behavior matters. This is also different across countries. People who say their behavior can make difference, while China shows very high percentage, United States citizens have a less tendency to believe in their behavior. Whether you can influence decision makers to make changes in climate crisis across the generation. Millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, they do have different levels of beliefs. This is not just the issue of climate change, but also social issues and politics. Regarding your perception of your behavior's effectiveness in changing political system, people do have different beliefs. US has a very negative 71% compared to Sweden, very high. That might affect people's behavior, participation. Also, this is different across political groups. Republicans have really low belief, while Democrats relatively have higher belief. What I'm saying here is that it is important to make people believe that they can make changes. But my question is, who are we? Do you really think that you are belonging to this we term? And what is change? What is level of change? The earth as a change level or local society as a change level? This question has a theoretical implications regarding how we measure collective efficacy. Practically, how to improve collective efficacy to make people participate. So this is my research. Research topic here is collective efficacy. Collective efficacy is refers to belief, ability to achieve and produce a desired outcome through joint action. However, researches are inconsistent whether collective efficacy really promotes collective action. Some research says even negative impact because of Olson's free rider logic. If you believe that we can make changes, then I don't necessarily need to participate because we can make changes anyway. So people tend to free ride. Findings are inconsistent across environmental studies and psychology. What I found was that if you look into the literature, the measurements are inconsistent. For example, some research says my donation will make difference, while other research says we can solve problems, while other research says your individual contributions campaign's goals. People are using the same terminology, measuring your behavior or our behavior. This is due to the lack of conceptual and measurement clarity. I'm going to give you the basic framework for this. Recent literature talked about while we're doing collective actions, we need to think about the 3A, agent, action, and aim. For agent, who are the behavior's agent, and aim, what is the purpose, what is the impact? Outcome. Other researchers pointing out we need to investigate more on agent and impact. So who are agent? Consumers or company or citizens or individual? For the impact, what are the impact? Environmental impact, what is the level? I'm focusing on this agent and the impact part. Agent refers to who is perceived to act, individual or the group. Aim, we're talking about the outcome of behavior. The first problem, agent problem, identification between I or we. Individuals tend to translate their group identifications. There's a continuum between individual and groups. Some people think I'm a member of Global Citizen, but some people might say, no, I'm just individual, I'm not in the member of the Global Citizens. People do have different understanding about we. So this makes difference. I will categorize different literatures. These are the literatures that mentioning about we. This literature label the term as a collective efficacy, measuring this we can overcome, together people can, or this group can, while other literature termed it as group efficacy, collective response efficacy, and also collective outcome expectancy. There is inconsistent use of the language. These researches are measuring I sentence. They termed it as a self-efficacy, measuring I can make changes, or donation efficacy, consumer efficacy, or collective efficacy. Researchers are using the same term, collective efficacy, while they measure individual donations or our donation. So this causes inconsistency. Other research measure I making impact. These are labeled as participative efficacy, response efficacy, effectiveness, or impact, or contribution. Now I turn to the second part. To make a healthier society, it's a bit complex to achieve this ultimate outcome. We need to not just achieve individual performance, but we need to also achieve collective performance. Impact is very long-term, abstract, and ambiguous. People don't believe that their behavior will be impactful. This output is closer and more concrete. According to other research domains, they establish this process of achieving the impact, output, outcome, and impact. Collective efforts, Moda explains about individual efforts and collective performance and collective outcome. We need to focus on this performance, this collective outcome or impact, which is ambiguous. The literatures that have measured this level performance, they termed it as impact and progress perceived usefulness. To summarize what I found through the literature review, these are terminologies or labels that have been used. People use collective efficacy with a different measurement. And to better understand people's psychological process, we need to focus on this part. I making impact on collective output rather than measuring we making impact or I making impact. It is important to measure I can make changes in collective output better than collective outcome. This might be one of examples that might be working. To solve climate crisis, we make a donation goal with the BTS, we achieve $100 together as a fan. It might be much easier and concrete to measure their behavior's impact on this amount rather than carbon emissions reduction. This is very practical case. Many running apps are doing this, collective challenges. We can make all of these social causes campaign rather than mentioning about big ambitious impact goals. We make very concrete challenges. Nike app, climate crisis running challenge. This is the actual case. Altogether, we run 10,000 kilometers. So empirically, I did a very simple test whether this really works or not. I gave participants a scenario that collectively we cannot solve climate crisis. It is impossible to make an impact. Ultimately, we cannot solve climate crisis. So I manipulate their beliefs while I still gave them a chance to make them believe that their behavior matters for collective output because we already ran 100 kilometers. Your contribution might be contributing to the graph. What I found was that they don't believe in solving climate crisis. Still, their beliefs on their impact on collective output significantly affected their running intention. This is the initial stage of my research idea. I'm concentrating on the literature on this and try to sort out why inconsistent findings exist in trying to give better answers regarding measurement. Thank you.